Today's talk is about patience. Patience is defined as the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. Wow, that is a hard one for me, and it's generally pretty hard for most teenagers. We live in a society where we can access data, we can order things we want and get them either immediately if we go to the store or within a couple of days with something like Amazon Prime, or you can just hop in a car and go buy something. We generally don't like having to wait for anything or anyone. We can send a text and often get a response in the time it takes for that friend to type it out. However, because of COVID-19, a lot of us are needing to be patient a lot more than usual. Are you having to take turns with electronic devices? Are you having to wait to hear from teachers that you're used to seeing every day? Are you having to wait until it's safe to go to places that you like to go or to do things you want to do? Are you frustrated at having to do so much of your learning online? Believe it or not, patience is also a form of action. When you learn to be patient, your heart rate goes down, your breathing slows, and tension decreases. It isn't easy, but learning this important skill can help you handle even the most confusing or difficult situations. In today's world, as I mentioned earlier, we can send a text to a friend, and if that friend is also on his or her device, you'll get a reply almost immediately. In past years, if you wanted to write to a friend, you had to go and get out pencil or pen and paper, or maybe a typewriter and paper, write your letter, put it in an envelope, get a stamp, put it in a mailbox, and then wait. It might have taken a day or two or longer for your friend to get the letter, and then hopefully your friend would then sit down, respond to your letter, and mail it back. So it might be 3 to 5 days or even weeks before you got a response. Patience was required as you waited for that reply. But believe it or not, that is how many friends and families used to keep in touch. And during times of war, or if the friend or family member lived really, really far away, it might be weeks before you got a response. Talk about having to be patient. But those letters were looked forward to, they were appreciated, they were read and reread, maybe shared with friends, and some people even saved them. Ask your grandparents if they once corresponded regularly with a friend or loved one by snail mail. Ask them if they still have a box of those old letters. So the question is, how does one learn to be patient? Patience can be thought of as another superpower that you can develop. Some suggestions I found on the internet were, first, you can practice making yourself wait. Perhaps you can practice waiting before you say something to someone. If you're angry, you can count to 10. Perhaps if you're wanting a bowl of ice cream, you can wait for 10 or 15 minutes before you actually have it. A scientific study has shown that when you wait for something, you are much happier with it in the long run. Have you ever saved your allowance or your earnings in order to get something you really, really wanted? That required patience. And how did you feel when you were finally able to have the item that you had worked so hard to get? I bet you felt really good, even proud. You had accomplished something special. Another way to learn patience is to stop doing things that really aren't important. Sometimes we get really agitated about getting something done, only to realize that it didn't really matter anyway. Stop, take a breath, and decide if what you are wanting to do is really necessary. Do you really have to do the things you are trying to do? Look at your schedule and try to eliminate the things that aren't important. You will have time to work on the things that are. Are you spending a lot of time on your phone? Are you spending a lot of time watching television or playing video games, especially while you're home so much? Honestly, maybe less time on your phone or devices and more time with schoolwork will help you to be more patient with yourself when you have a difficult assignment. A lot of times we procrastinate on things we really need to do, and then we are very impatient with ourselves when we can't finish doing the things we wanted to do correctly before the deadline. Be mindful of the things that make you impatient. Are you about to be late? Then start trying to get ready a little earlier. Are you upset that someone isn't doing something for you? See if you can do it yourself. Are you jumping from one task to the next without really finishing any of them? Take a breath, slow down, and complete one task before going on to the next. One of the sayings at our house is, make the list, work the list. We find that when we have a list of tasks and scratch each item off as we complete it, we find that anxiety goes down and patience in ourselves increases. Another idea, especially while you are trying to juggle school assignments right now, is to write down the things you need to do on Post-it notes. Put them up on a wall or window. As each task is accomplished, move that note to another place on the wall. This will give you a visual to show what you have accomplished. Then also make sure you give yourself plenty of time for each task. Another way to learn patience is to learn to relax. Take deep breaths. As I mentioned earlier, when we are impatient, our heart rate goes up, our breathing speeds up, and we feel physically anxious. Not a good feeling. Take some deep breaths. Focus on something else. Decide if what you are so anxious about is really all that important. Yoga is often used as a tool for teaching relaxation and mindfulness. There are apps online as well as television programs that offer yoga instruction. Taking a walk around the block can help you calm down and think about what is really important. As I said before, becoming impatient leads to stress and anxiety. We have enough of that to deal with right now. We aren't seeing our friends each day. Our parents are stressed. We're trying to complete lessons online. One way to handle these frustrations is to try to develop more patience with ourselves and with others. Patience is so important to learn about that many famous people have been quoted for their thoughts on the subject. George Bernard Shaw, an Irish playwright and political activist, said, "Two things define you, your patience when you have nothing and your attitude when you have everything." Mahatma Gandhi, an Indian lawyer, political ethicist, and the person who employed violence resistance to lead a successful campaign for India's independence from British rule, said, "To lose patience is to lose the battle." My husband and I have started watching that movie again, and I'm so impressed with how much patience he shows as he works to reach his goals. It's rated PG, but you might talk to your parents about watching it with them as a family. It's an excellent example of someone who is amazingly patient. Scott Curran, who has written books about peace, joy, gratitude, and comfort, says, "When you encounter various trials, big or small, be full of joy. They're opportunities to learn patience." Think about what you're going through. Think of these times as a wonderful opportunity to learn to be patient. When you can't change the outcome or rush things anyway, getting frustrated or angry just doesn't help. It upsets you. Brian Adams, who wrote a book called How to Succeed, said, "Impatience breeds anxiety, fear, discouragement, and failure. Patience creates confidence, decisiveness, and a rational outlook, which eventually leads to success." We want all of you to be successful. Success isn't always immediate. In most cases, it takes time. Think about it. If you're an athlete, did you immediately know how to be successful in pitching a ball, hitting a ball, learning the football plays, making the goals you wanted to make? No, it took a lot of practice. You had to persevere. Likewise, if you've been learning to play an instrument, did you immediately know how to play it the moment you bought it or rented it? No, you have practiced and practiced. The patience you've shown yourself as you've practiced to learn that instrument has helped you to be successful. Practice is part of patience. It's persevering. It is not expecting things to come quickly or easily. Leo Tolstoy, a Russian author who wrote classics such as War and Peace and Anna Karenina, said the two most powerful warriors are patience and time. Now, given that he wrote some really long books that must have taken a very long time to write, I can only imagine how much patience and perseverance he must have had. A lady named Catherine Pulsifer, who's a motivational writer, has said that learning patience can be a difficult experience. But once learned, you will find that life is easier. A self-help writer named Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, said that patience, persistence, and perspiration can make an unbeatable combination for success. You know, that doesn't only apply to athletes. These are trying times, to be sure, but let's use these experiences to help us learn to be more patient with others and with ourselves. You will benefit, and so will those around you. Please remember that your Forest Heights family are all here for you. If you are having trouble reaching a teacher, feel free to drop me a note. If you want me to set up a Zoom meeting for you and your friends, please let me know. I miss all of you, and I can't wait until we're all back together again. Remember that you can reach me at martha.christie@lrsd.org anytime between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. every weekday. Go Eagles!